Hi. All right, let's get this started. Thanks for taking the time today. We are from AutoRABIT, and we would like to tell you a little bit about DX and what to expect, what's going to come, and how things are going to change. Always, of course, safe harbor. This is under development, and there might be changes. So there's a statement. We did it. And this is our title today. So Bootstrapping for DX. This is what we want to talk about today. How to prepare for it. What things are going to change, and how to accelerate the adoption of DX, since it's not really a choice, it's going to be mandatory. And then with me I have my Senior Director of Customer Success in the region, Gatupali. He's doing the majority of the talking today. And my name is Simon Wilson. So again, thank you very much, and I'm going to hand it off to my friend here. Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. Good morning. So just a show of hands before we get started, how many of you have attempted DX in your teams?
That's
excellent.
Maybe a third.
More than what? This is a good number.
Yep.
And then that means this session can resonate much more, much better for those who have attempted. And for those who are planning, it will give you some. The goal is that we give you some realistic expectations on what we did with AutoRABIT with some of our customers, and what have been our experiences, and what were the challenges, and how we went about them from a product perspective. So this is a brief agenda. So about DX, then how do you plan your DX journey? And from AutoRABIT, how did we approach DX from last Dreamforce to now, these 3 months? What were our learnings and how we improved our product to meet some of these challenges? And finally, it is always imperative that for a CI/CD team, you got to make sure you have some ROI in place to demonstrate the value of automation. So this is what, in brief, we will be talking about. DX is beyond scratch orgs. This is something that that still many people, many tools around talk about. Supporting DX is supporting scratch org creation or running some DX commands for creating package or something. But DX is a lot more than that. DX is a transformation that is going to change the way the development, packaging, and release happens with Salesforce as we go forward probably into this end of this year. So the source of truth has been Sandbox. Now source of truth will be version control. This is something AutoRABIT has been advocating for over 4 years now. And as we have helped thousands of developers, administrators, release managers onboard source control. But now what we are seeing is an increasing trend that source control more and more is getting into the DNA of the entire teams. Development used to be in dev sandboxes. All teams work on one box, or each developer has his own sandbox, her own sandbox. But now it will be scratch orgs. Packaging, either teams are using change sets or metadata API with unpackaged metadata. And mostly it is org diffs. You compare changes, and you see what is changed, and you update these XML files with all those permissions. Take a lot of effort to get there, and eventually validate and deploy. So teams who have transitioned from change sets to metadata is at this stage. But going forward, what it will be developer packages. It will not be taking your entire Sandbox changes and going to production. It will not be one large production deployment of 1,500 components, and you spend hours and hours of time figuring out dependency issues, figuring out test class compilations or code coverage issues. It is about making your source code into series of apps, and your app will have your release schedule. It is not about taking entire Sandbox to production. That is what it is today. But with DX, the way you release will also change. It will be more of setting up. You are a Sales Cloud team. You set up your release schedule for Sales Cloud. You have your source structure. You have your app. You set up your plan. You take it to production. You need not try to work with the 50 other developers on their changes and try to have one release schedule. And the way it is released is also not about managing, massaging these XML files and trying to somehow make it happen and then put them into your production. It's more of upgrade. You have your version. You have your release. Defined Sales Cloud, say 28th March is your release with a version number, and you keep upgrading it. Service Cloud, or it can be your in-house developed apps. For example, you have an expense management that you built in-house. It's an app. It's a module. So it will be more of upgrading of modules that will happen. One of the challenges that we encountered while we are trying to get DX into large enterprises, most of AutoRABIT customers are from enterprise segment at this stage. So when we try to do a prototyping with the DX, the biggest challenge that we started to encounter was with respect to modularization. I have, one of our customer has 4.2 lakhs, 4.2 millions of metadata in it, tons of roles, thousands of reports, dashboards. And for them, if we talk about modularization, it was not just resonating. So then we started identifying patterns. OK, so what are the apps that you did in your team? So app, what is an app? What's the next question? So anything that you do with respect to a set of functionality which you keep improving all the time is your app. Your code management is an app. Your expense management is an app. So we started first segmenting out that figure out all these things. And then all the Service Cloud teams, Sales Cloud teams, Marketing Cloud teams, all theirs were segmented out. And then we segmented out the managed package extensions, still breaks, apters, whatever managed packages you have, they are your extensions. So that is third. And there were teething challenges, especially dealing with managed packages to move. So, and with some of the customers, we said, let's pick up a new functionality that you want to do today. Pick up your next sprint, or pick up your next module that you want to build. So you need to invest time in identifying these logical segments. Probably you will start with a shared bucket, where it ends up at 70% of your metadata going into the shared bucket. But you need to be cautiously taking it out from that shared project into the individual modules. Maybe some of your profiles or some of your things may not be in a state of breaking up right now. But you can start with a shared module and set up a dependency between it, and then put this in, and then your independent modules. So set up your multi-module source structure, not just one SRC folder, which has thousands of metadata in it. And then plan your packaging schedule. So start releasing your packages into prod. So this is a typical journey path that we suggest to teams who wants to really think about, where do I start with DX? How do I get on board? How should I plan? So as I started with, modularization will be one of your challenge. It is not it should not be treated as a lot of cleaning effort, but it should be treated as an opportunity to set things right. As enterprises applications become large, running into thousands of metadata, one day or other it will break up. So it is always an opportunity to form a core team who takes care of figuring out how do I segmentize my metadata. There could be a lot of legacy metadata. Let me tell you, it is not going to be a smooth path. But it is important you do it. When instead of doing it a very rushed schedule that, OK, I want to go to DCPs next month, or I want to wait for packaging 2.0 to come, and then I start my DX planning, that will be too late. So pick up your module that you want to start with, do a prototype, create your DX project. And the next is about setting up GIT repository, because DX and source control goes hand in hand. Without source control, you really can't leverage a lot of benefits out of DX, because DX is about a transformation into modern development. Modern development and source control, they're intrinsic. You can't separate them out. So, and then teams should have a fair understanding of scratch orgs. What are scratch orgs? What can we do with it? What are the various command line operations that are available? And then some Git basics. So even my recommendation personally is both admins and development teams, developers, admins, get into Git, because it is the way it will be in future. And if it is important that as Salesforce evolves as a modern platform, things like version control should be into every member. It's not that some teams want to do change sets and some teams want to do DX. You will not have the tight acceleration that you want to get. You start getting into same overwriting problems with change sets, and some teams do it Git and try to deploy. It will not be, the resonance will not be there. So our recommendation is do it together. Then, of course, we did, with first customer that we went, we planned a 3-week iteration for a DX prototype with a goal that we set up a couple of stories into your scratch orgs, but we failed miserably. All 3 weeks we took figuring out dependencies only. They tell that, OK, these 1,000 components, we started with 2 metadata. We ended up at 800 members to load those 2 metadata. That was reality. And then we understood the key challenge is here dependency management. Without helping teams out on figuring out dependencies, they are like swimming through a lot of undisclosed territories. Nobody knew a lot of classes why they were there. Nobody knew a lot of profiles why they were there. And then they started, oh, OK, this is why, this is why. It went into emails worth 5-6 years ago to figure out why certain things were there. And keep documenting. Whenever any new initiative, the biggest challenge is if you want to carry the effort that you put in into the future generations, it is through a document. A lot of learnings that you will have is what you unearthed probably a decade ago, what happened in the Salesforce Sandbox. And what you will unearth now to figure out and fix it should be documented, or it will be in the same state a decade after. So run end-to-end sprint. Check in your code. I'll walk through how to run an end-to-end sprint maybe in the next slide. And once you get it, do a retrospection, and then go for modularizing next set of metadata. But in the first sprint that you run, your packaging will still be the same as you are packaging today. It will be based on org-diffs. It will be based on package.xml. It will be based on deploying through metadata API. The first sprint will be through, the first transition is to modularization, but deploy with the same way that you are doing, because package 2.0 is not live yet. Maybe it takes another 3 months to be in a state where you can start using it. But you need not wait for 3 months. It's not all or nothing state for DX. These 3 months, you can focus on getting into your modules, and then but deploy through the same way that you are deploying today using metadata API. Then prototype with a package 2.0, that will be your second sprint, and run this sprint with package upgrades. And start your multi-module sprint. You started in iteration 4 here with 1 module. Now you will be in iteration 5 running a multi-module sprint. And end of 6th sprint is where the expectation is that your source code is organized into several DX modules. It could still be some shared metadata that will be there. That is expected. But you will have at least 7 to 8 DX projects that are set up, and you are in a state to deploy them using package upgrade. So this is what we typically do as a journey, as a 6-sprint journey with our customers. So once we have package 2.0, scratch orgs will be for all the development purposes. Then you push them into version control, keep deploying to SIT, QA, UAT, and prod. I'll just take 1 more minute before I hand off to Mr. Simon to show how AutoRABIT has solved some of these. So this is a quick sprint. So user story should come from your ALM tool. That's where the development starts. And then developer works in, creates a scratch org from hub.org, use AutoRABIT dependency analyzer to fetch the dependencies and put them into scratch org. And then AutoRABIT has a check-in gate where a piece of change that is in the sandbox can be validated for dependencies, class compilation, test coverage, and static code analysis, check marks, and then given to a reviewer for approval. If reviewer says, yes, go for it, then the check-in will happen. Because a true CI, any system that says a CI server or a CI tool should give you early warning. Early warning is the first and foremost thing for any CI tool. So AutoRABIT has an extensive check-in gate that sets your own standards. So then package it from integration branch. You have a developer package created, deploy it. From the same branch, create your developer package, deploy to QA, then pull it to master, deploy it to your stage, deploy it to your prod. And finally, update your ALM, update your chartered, celebrate. Challenges, 30 seconds. So training the teams on scratch org, managing expectations. It will look overwhelming for sure, but you are doing something for the next decade. Modularization will have shared data issues. Offshore teams will have tough time understanding dependencies. When they want to create scratch org, you give a time of 2 minutes, but they may take a day initially. And plan it in regular agile sprints. Put DX goals into your sprints. Don't treat DX goals separately out of your sprints. Put some planning into the efforts here. And with AutoRABIT, we solved some of these dependency issues and how developers can quickly create scratch orgs. Probably I leave to Simon.
Yeah, thank you. So basically, the key point here is modularization, right? So you have to figure out what are the components in my production org today that I have to basically keep in one group and deploy those into a scratch org to then develop on top of it. So modularization is the key word here. So for that, we have created a dependency analyzer. That means if you tell me what is your master object that you're trying to work on, it will tell you all the dependent components. Doesn't matter if it's a field, a record, whatever you need metadata-wise, it will tell you. So you can basically identify all the things you need to do a successful development, which is also deployable into production after. And basically, when we have this dependency analyzer process completed, we're able to turn this into templates. So let's say you spin up your scratch org after. It will allow you to say, OK, I would like to create a scratch org for a specific user story. This user story is pertaining to a specific component in my production org. And therefore, I have a template, let's say, for my Sales Cloud. And this template, I just say, apply it to my scratch org. And it will load the metadata automatically into your scratch org. So all you have to do is create the scratch org, pick the template you need for the component you're working on, and then develop on top. And afterwards, you can easily commit that to version control and move it into the higher environments to check it out and get it tested and so forth. So you can see here the templates. Basically, we have some created, so we can see like a sales template, service cloud template. So you, as a developer, create those, and do the dependency analysis, create the templates, and once you have this preparation done, you can then easily just create your scratch orgs to your needs, depending on your user story and requirements. And we also have user story management built into our tool. There's a specific module for this. So let's say you use Jira or Redmine, IBM RTC, version 1, Agile Accelerator. We don't care. We integrate with all of those. We also integrate with all kinds of version control, like Git, SVN, any flavor. We don't care. And it allows you then to say, OK, my user story is ARDX190, for example. You click on that and say, OK, for this, please create a scratch org. And I know, OK, what is the template I need to use for this? Because let's say it's Sales Cloud pertaining. So I say my Sales Cloud template I need to load into my scratch org. There's no need for a command line interface either. Everything is UI-based. So whether you're a developer or you're an admin, whether you're really technically inclined or not, doesn't care or doesn't matter, because we can support you and make it really simple to adopt this. And so once you have selected the user story you want to work on, you create the scratch org, it loads the metadata required, and then you just start your development cycle. And then you can see here now we have the scratch org already assigned to a specific user story. And we also can then say, OK, for this scratch org, we have this specific branch. So when you create your components after you're done developing, you just say, OK, remember easy commit feature, I fetch my changes, and then I say, OK, these components I would like to commit to a particular branch. At the same time, you can also say, please update my user story in my ALM tool, say this component is done. So then your release manager will know, OK, I see you have done your job. The user story has been updated integrated, the components are ready. This is now living in this branch. I can take it from the branch and deploy it to QA, UAT, pre-prod, staging, whatever it might be. And it makes it really easy. And also we can automate many things. Meaning you develop in your Scratch work, you commit your changes to version control, and even the commit itself can, for example, trigger validation deployments automatically to tell you, okay, your components, if you were to deploy today to production, it would go through or would not go through. Because maybe you have component issues, or maybe there's code coverage dependencies, those kind of things that keep you from deploying successfully.
Yeah,
And,
finally,
yeah.
ROI, we have 30 seconds. So ROI is about always, it is about figuring out, it's not about the time that takes for you to deploy in production. It might still take the same, even you get CI/CD. It takes 20 minutes today, it will still take 20 minutes. That depends on your metadata size. But what we always talk about with CI/CD processes is how many such 30 minutes took for you to get here? How many times did it fail in integration stage with dependencies, class issues? And how many such 30 minutes did the team spend to get to a state where integration is, you are into SIT? And how many times did it fail going into UAT? How many such 30 minutes are spent? This is what a true ROI is about. So you can, as a team, do a brainstorm. How many iterations am I taking for, say, 10 stories to get into production? How much time is spent in coordination between the teams? How many failures are coming? What is our run rate with deployments? And so based on that, you will get to your numbers. And these are some of the numbers that we have worked with our customers. Oops. So
yeah, let's load that up. OK.
yeah. So you can have your user inputs, like how many developers, admins, managers, how many releases. So at each stage, you know manual steps that are done, the profile deployments that are done, how many times you are getting failures. So number of times overwritten code, number of conflicts that are coming, average time to resolve. And when you do this, you will get to a state where CI/CD on an year, 1 year, 2 year, 3 years will transform the entire development process into a much more matured state. So we are on time. Thank you for your time today. Thank you for being here. Any questions we can have here?
Yeah,
Thank you.
anybody has any questions?